bank. Or you almost outside the bank, milling around.
Right.
You gonna change some money? Yeah. Okay. What's the exchange rate? That's 700. So these white folks, I said, I tell you what, Mr. Cracker, I'm gonna give you 1,000. It's a 300 extra shillings. I'm gonna give you 300 extra shillings. And I'll do it right around here. Just give me that $100, and I'll give you this 1,000 shillings. Well, here's 1,000 shillings. Hand it over. Right? And that was for, we could give that exchange rate for Deutschmarks. So suppose a Negro come along. We said, Mr. Negro, you're a nice tourist here, but we're going to give you 1,400, twice the value.
Yeah.
We're going to give you 1,400 because he's a Negro. But you're still going to make an extra. Out of 3 parts, you're going to get 1 for yourself, all free and clear.
Yeah.
And it's unlimited, and money change during the period of closing the borders when they want to get control of their finances. That means all the Indians got all this money stacked up. The border is closed up in Kenya,
Right.
where they could go up there and get on the money trade thing.
Yeah.
No. The border is closed, and you got hundreds and thousands of shillings. They was coming, the black people got over like, because see, remember, we could change whatever we wanted. So we said, look here, they was coming, the brothers, I wasn't there at that time, I got there a little later, but the brothers said they was bowing down, please take our money. Please wanna help us. The Negroes that I knew, boy, they got fat as they could. Look, man, they was knocking over. They was getting 21. They was getting 21 shillings. Look at here, and they was giving them for the same as 7 or 8 or something. But they had to change that money.
Right.
Because they're gonna, here's how it works. After a certain date, these 100 shilling notes won't be valuable anymore. We're going to change to another shilling note, right? Mm-hmm. These will be finished. Yeah. So you have to go to the bank. You got an account that says you have so much money in there because they're watching it. Yeah. You could change only 5,000 shillings. Little or nothing, $700, $800. That ain't, oh my goodness, that ain't nothing.
Right. Yeah.
That's all you could change. But you have thousands. Remember, 90% plus of all the stores and the shops in East Africa were owned by Indians. Almost the same thing in South Africa. So here's the point. So we said, we're African Americans. Hey man, we can change all the money we want. Right. And so look at here. We could almost give them what, that was a great period for African Americans. It was bad for Indians. And those were the days when next door in Uganda, they was putting all the Asians out. But they felt the same way in Tanzania. You see what I mean? They, right next door, they felt the same way, but they wasn't like Idi Amin. Idi Amin was, hey man, this is what we're gonna do. And everybody liked him for that, but they didn't have the courage to do it themselves. Okay, now let's get back to modern times. Instead of the Indian in Africa, now we have the Chinese. The Chinese are living like colonial masters right now in Africa. They're living like I didn't say this at first, but I had to wait till keep checking and double checking and talking, and they're living like colonial masters. In Zambia, it's copper export. They don't even keep an accurate record of, like the Africans. They can't compete with Chinese business. That means on anything. The Chinese are there and they have efficient farms, so they're gonna sell chickens for little nothing, right, to other Africans. All the African farmers can't compete.
Can't compete at them rates, yeah.
They can't compete. Plus, there's something, Africans don't want to work as hard as the Chinese. Right? And the Chinese are there, they're there, and all the Chinese there are going to cooperate with each other.
Right.
Their life depends on it.
Yeah.
This didn't happen only in Africa, in Malaysia, in Indonesia. The wealthiest people are the Chinese, and they have millions of them there. And Malaysia wants to get control of their own country. In Malaysia, they have, what's this thing we have when you go to school, and affirmative action.
Yeah.
You know who the affirmative action for in Malaysia is?
Right.
For Malays.
Malays.
For Malays. Yeah. Right? So, and it's been like that. But anyway, they might have political control, but they don't have economic control. That's Malaysia. That's Indonesia. And now it's Africa. So now, and we're not super mad at Chinese because they're doing what would be natural if they were not pushing a certain philosophy. Remember, so they put the white man out, the white man was taking everything. You go to Africa right now, the Chinese are living exactly like the white. You see the black people carrying the little white babies, working for little or nothing. You see the big giant farms, Chinese. You see everything Chinese. And you could take $5 or $10, or rands or whatever, and you could buy any black politician on the African continent. He's going to sell all the resources to the Chinese. The Chinese now are not the same Chinese that went and built the railroad in Zambia 60 years ago. They're not them. These are modern, up-to-date Chinese that are not philosophically driven, or if they was, when they get there a while, and the Africans are meek and kind and subservient. And therefore, the Chinese now are taking advantage of the whole African continent. Okay, so here's what we say to the Chinese. Dear brothers, you haven't been doing too bad, now you done bounce back and you're going up against boss man. But you have to clean up your act because you have to have a whole new policy. Number one, basically go back to China. Yes, get on that boat and go back to China. And leave 5 or 10 Chinese behind to help manage certain things. And they stay there for 2-3 years and they go back home. Their family don't stay there. They go back. You want to help Africa? You go back. Give a man a fish, he eat for a day. Teach him how to fish. Teach Africans science, engineering, technology, efficiency. Teach him how to do that. Right? Those gigantic loans that Africans have taken, cut them down 75%, where they owe you 25%. That's it. Just do it. Okay, you'll say, we go back home, it ain't no way. Yes, it is. China has become excellent in desertification, getting rid of the desert and making it grow. You go back and get you a place out there in the desert. All of you, go on back home. Go back home today? Or is this war between China and the U.S. picks up? Boss man has a built-in group of people ready to pipe fitna to them. And it would be true. China has come to Africa and taken over, right? You have to rebel. He's the new colonial master. It would be true.
Right.
He has to do now. He has to get his morals and ethics together and get back home. And have a small entourage there left to help Africans get charge of Africa. No matter how much they mess up, you just keep teaching and teaching until they get better, right? But we don't need China. Now it's a zillion Chinese in Africa. We don't need them in Africa. Africa for Africans. Africa for Africans. If you don't do it, right when you get just about this boss man here whipped, which the Chinese are going to be on him. There's no way to but you leave the Africans, those Chinese in Africa, boss man, he got $1 zillion, he just go over there, which he do now. All the fitna in the world, he causes it. So all he do is say, look at you guys, and see, right now, there's only about 30, 35, maybe 40% discontent with with the Chinese. But in 10 years, it'll be up to 60%. Why? Because they get bigger, they're going to get more organized, and they're going to bring in more Chinese, and they're going to take over more and more stuff. Right? And you will be working for the Chinese harder than you was working for the white man. Simple as that. This is ethics now. You got to remember. Now, you might say, man, this is a big change. No, we've been on China's side all along, a long march, this, that, and other. But right is right and wrong is wrong. Right? We saying this for their benefit. You do this now, you got a chance to whoop boss man. If you don't, boss man gonna come in the side door on you, and he's gonna bring all the Africans and everybody. He said, look what they're doing to you. And it will be true. And by then the attitude and the arrogance will have exploded. And it'll be by their original friend and neighbor, the Chinese. Because the people now that have migrated to Africa are not carrying the big ideological stuff that was happening in Chairman Mao's time, and even the modern line of China, with Chinese characteristics, colonial characteristics. Colonial characteristics. They live on separate compounds. They're taken out. If you look at Zambia, I was watching a thing the other night on Zambia. And as the African was saying, we don't even have no idea how to count how much they're taking out. And the Zambian machinery is from 500 years ago, and Chinese have all modern stuff, and Africans working for them, and they just loading that copper on out, jumping on the railroad that they built, taking it to the harbor, and Dar es Salaam and putting on the boats that they had built for the good of humanity. Now they done turned capitalists. Okay, so we want to help them. Okay, now you know, we're not anti-Chinese, but if you don't plan ahead, see, when you start getting big, you start sometimes throwing off those little acts of kindness. It's normal for human beings. It's normal for the empire too. The empire that 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 55 years, they built a whole railroad for the Africans, and it only cost them 2% for carrying charges. That's all, you know, like 2% interest, you know, because they got to keep account of. That's all it was. It was either 1% or 2%. They don't do that now. They walking out the back door with everything. And the African now looks like a slave in his own country. Because the African, they have to have an African methodology of work. Chinese work like ants. They always have been for thousands of years. That's the way they do. Africans don't work like that. Africans want to throw a seed out there. Africans want to work 2-3 hours a day, and that's it. Because that's what he wants to do.
Right.
So if you come and you a 16-hour-a-day man, right?
Right. Right.
3 or 4 of your people gonna outwork the whole crew. And money management, the African is gonna go get drunk as soon as he can. Not the Chinese, he's gonna save his money. So pretty soon, you look in all the stores, all the shops, and everything is Chinese. Okay. So, Africa for Africans, that's what we're saying. Africa for Africans. And we're saying to our brothers, you want to whoop boss man? You send the Chinese back to China. You send them back. You say, okay, it's time for y'all to go. You know. Well, we're here. We're citizens. We said, you get your butt up and come on back home.
Right.
Because they're living today like colonial masters in Africa. The exact same way the white man used to live. The Chinese live that way now. It's not that they meant to, we got a scheme, we're going to knock the Africans, we're going to do this like the colonial, but they just did because they work harder, they're thinking, and when you're an immigrant, when you come somewhere, you know what I mean, you ain't got nothing,
right.
And you just, immigrant come to America, he ready to go to work. Okay, if you look in commerce and the movies and everything, the African immigrant is moving in where we used to be. You know, you look at those cards for voting, Abu Bakr so-and-so, right out there.
Yep.
We don't want to see that because I don't want to vote for that, but he do. Okay. Later on, he's going to have to get his behind in gear and understand that you're here and we have a history here. And you just got here just because you just worked hard and got on up, and you look at us and say, you niggas don't work hard. I would say that's what they say, and that's the way they feel. Because they don't understand, they should go back and understand what happened to them in Africa.
Right.
When you're whipped every day, when you don't have no way out, right?
Right, yep.
When he comes here, he said, hey man, it ain't nothing holding me back but myself. And the first generation work. But the second generation, or the third generation of African is here, he's more African American in his thinking. And the police stops him. And he knows his parents, all they know is tunnel vision. Work.
Right.
Back home, if I worked for 8 hours, I could make 2 or 3 rupees or something. I work like that here, I get $500. So, right?
Yeah.
So he's looking at me and you, or he's a cab driver, he's this and that, and he look at me and you, and we say, like the Latinos that come, they're good brothers. But at first when they came here, they undercut the Negro by working cheaper. They ain't doing that now. The Negro is gone. Wherever he went to, I don't know. But the Latinos now charge the same by the scale. They don't charge no like this Latino work. No, we ain't doing that. Working for $5 a day, we ain't doing that. That was 30 years ago. The point is this, is that as the world change, we have to have foresight and insight. We have to see what's happened before in history, and we have to understand where do we fit in all of this, right? So, although we would consider ourselves progressive, but also, if we see people who we admire making colossal mistakes, like China, we have to tell them, hey, homeboy, y'all making colossal mistakes. We may write a paper on it. We may make some, I may take some of these by and drop them off at the Chinese embassy. Of course, so they'll understand. You're going to war now with boss man. Okay. That means you have to tighten up. You can't leave no door open or boss man is coming in that door. If you leave the African, Asian, Afro-Chinese, oppressive, all of that door open, he's going to walk right through there. And he's going to give all them all the arms and ammunition, right, that they need to fight against you over there where you are. Yes, he is. That's boss man. He can't help it. And that's what he do. So right now, we have a very serious time we're living in. It's a good time, but it's fraught with danger. The same thing with Iran. We've been down with Iran from day one, as much or more than the Iranians have been. Right? That's what we've been doing. And we're proud of ourselves that we stuck with it. We know what our reputation is, and we know the people who are acting funny, who they with. Yeah, they're not with the Islamic Republic. They're not with the Vilayat Faqih. They're with boss men here. They've stayed here so long, they want to be here, and they don't want to do nothing. The boss man can tell them, well, you can knock Musa off your roster there. Pretty soon, nobody wants to talk to Imam Musa, right? But one or two guys that they done set up to call, maybe 2-3 programs. Those are little, okay. It don't make no difference. All our friends, like I told